atomic gigantification was a sweeping Japan nation when along came a dude with an ultra attitude, a Kamen Rider who's the greatest kicker of Japan. And of all, man, life's too short now, baby, to not talk big now, baby.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Kaiju Conversation. I'm your host, Elijah, and joining me, as always, my lovely co-host and editor.
Hello, I am Rex.
And we are back at it again for yet another episode in this wonderful month of February. Love is in the air.
Woo-hoo.
Can you feel the love?
Can you feel the love tonight?
No.
What? Have you ever seen The Lion King?
No.
That's a song from The Lion King.
I don't. No.
That's like one of the greatest movies of all time.
I've seen one of the greatest movies of all time, and it's not The Lion King.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
As the old people would say, bing bong, you're wrong.
Now, you Lion King. Thank you for laughing at that joke. I'm happy somebody thought that was funny.
I was laughing until I realized the pun. The moment the pun clicked, I stopped laughing.
Well, let's laugh at something else. How are you today?
Tired. Tired. Dead. Doing good, mostly just really tired.
That's fair.
It's been busy.
I bet. Do you want to fill us in on what that entails? We have been recording quite frequently in the last couple of days, last week or so. So it's not been a long time since we've talked, but perhaps there is something you can at least talk about.
I mean, in terms of the past few days and since the last recording, I'm really tired right now just because I've been working literally nonstop today. But in terms of the weekend, I don't know, the weekend was pretty fun.
There was a weekend?
Yeah. It was nice. I had Monday off and it didn't feel like Monday. So I got confused that today was Tuesday and confused at the fact we were recording today. And I was like, wait a minute. Uh-oh, stinky. But yeah, not too much has happened. I went ice skating on Sunday. That was interesting.
They do that in Australia?
Yeah. We don't even have ice here.
I know. I'm confused. So, was it a race? Who won? Did you fall on your butt?
You just, yes, I was sabotaged actually by someone.
Did you get tripped?
No, although I think there was some children in the ring that were trying to kill me at some point. I was shocked that I was actually able to succeed in learning how the hell to ice skate, since I've only ever done it once before in my life, and that was a birthday party about a decade ago.
Are you sure you learned? Or was it more like you adapted to the day?
No, at a certain point, after 20 minutes, it just clicked with me how to actually do it and not just be basically walking in place.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend who was trying to help me. But then, at one point, I swear to God, she tried sabotaging me at one point. One point, she goes in front of me, and she's trying to help me. She puts her hands out and tells me to grab her hands. And as soon as I grab her hands, next thing I know, I fall back first on the goddamn ground. But it was a fun. It was a fun time. We went karaoke afterwards.
Is that why your voice sounds like that?
Yes.
You sound like
I sounded worse yesterday.
You sound like you're croaking.
Bro, I sound like I've been on cocaine and cigarettes for 10 years.
How do you know what that sounds like?
Do you not know? Have you ever met a smoker in your life?
I mean, you just sound like you've got something down your throat. It's okay, buddy.
You're insufferable.
I know I am.
But yeah, that was fun. Also watched a couple movies with them too. I was forced to watch K-pop Demon Hunters, which was interesting.
I'm sure.
On a better note, we also watched Back to the Future, which I had actually never seen before.
You've never seen Back to the Future?
Nope, never.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I really liked it, yeah.
Good.
It was a lot of fun. Outside of that, yeah, that's more or less it. On Monday, I think I mentioned, I don't remember if it was it was the Meatball Machine bonus because I was just editing it earlier. But I mentioned in that I had done like a behemoth walking animation, and I did, and so I've done a little bit more Blender since then as well.
And you've yet to send me anything. Anything from that recording has yet to be sent to me.
I will send it to you. I just will I actually commit to the idea I have and make it a full little like 30-second or like 20-second project, or what? Will I commit to that? Who knows?
No.
Actually, it is funny because today I was thinking about that stuff, and then I realized there's another. It's just like one shot, but it was one that I did just for fun of like Godzilla 2014, like striking like Baragon, and I don't know if I ever actually sent that to you or not. Yeah,
you're keeping secrets from me? It's
not really keeping secrets. I posted it in the Discord.
Well, do you think I have time for Discord?
No.
Exactly.
Which is why you've probably never seen it.
No, I haven't.
And I'm like, that's hilarious.
I'm a gog. I'm furious. I'm fuming.
I mean, I can forward it to you later. It is in the server. So.
Sure. Later. Yeah, famous last words. Last time you said, I'll send it to you after. Later. It didn't happen.
Man, it's been a busy week, okay? I'm sure you know what that's like at the moment.
I do know what that's like. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Gonna elaborate that?
Yeah, I can't go 10 minutes without getting a message I have to respond to, which is why I didn't respond immediately. Yeah, I mean, oh God. It's honestly like you brought up the whole you're exhausted thing, and I was making a joke, but like I am right there with you. Honestly, it's been exhausting. I'm still waiting on finishing up the Ishiro Honda documentary disc. Nothing has moved there, really. I got some confirmations on things that I then had to message somebody. In terms of brush, we just got the interior liner notes drafted up and sent off to the graphic designer for them to do the final version, which is really good. I started writing the script for the audio commentary very recently. I'm about 15 minutes in. It's a 75-minute movie, so I've got about an hour left to write. So I'm gonna try and get that done here in the next couple of days, and then record it in one day, and then I'll be sending it to my post-production person. Who shall remain nameless for the sake
who that could be.
Of that. Yeah, exactly. To see if they will level that, and then I will get that delivered, in which that really leaves one bonus feature left.
That post-production guy must be the real MVP of the show.
Yeah, there's like a 50-50 on if he actually does it and still gets credited for it or not.
Damn. I see how it is.
But no, I'm trying to think. Have I talked about what we're doing for the Blu-ray? I don't know. I'm feeling really loosey on like my secrets right now. So I don't know. I don't know if I talked about the big project or not.
I think you did mention it briefly, that you're working on something, and that was kind of it. You didn't really specify.
Okay, so I've been conducting a ton of interviews. I think I've brought that up. I think that's been something I've talked about. So a lot of it has been conducting interviews, and I've done like 3 since our last recording, and starting tomorrow, I have 5 currently slated for 6. Sorry, I just got my 6th one confirmed, and I'm awaiting 2 more people to respond with dates, and then I'm waiting on 4 more people to respond if they are interested or willing to do it or not. So it has been an exhausting. I like every morning, I swear I send about 6 or 7 messages, whether it's via email, Facebook Messenger, text messages. It's a lot. A lot of times I'll also get like Twitter messages. I've been, working with a translator, working with a writer, working with, the interviewees here. Before too long, I'm going to be working with an editor and a composer. And it's just, a bulk of the work on my end is done.
Yeah.
This week, however, will be a lot of meetings and a lot of reviewing and taking notes and getting stuff done. On top of the commentary, on top of the finishing of the interviews, on top of editing audio for our podcast. So I have been at my wit's end in terms of exercising my energy.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I did do a podcast with our good friend Gretton Conwell and Ryan Collins, known as the Omni Viewer. We did it was a live stream that's getting turned into a podcast talking about the subject. Is a no human cast kaiju movie a good idea? And it was about 2.5 hours.
Damn.
Although, admittedly, the first 35 minutes, I didn't even really say more than 5 words. I was taking notes, and then after that, I went and did the talking. So that was a lot of fun. But
for a runtime like that, you guys basically made your own 2-hour kaiju movie with just humans.
We did. There was one big kaiju and a daikaiju, if you will.
That's so funny.
That's a reference. What a line. That's a reference. But outside of that, I've actually been doing nothing else. That podcast was like the first thing that was like not Brush of the God related. And if I do get sent over footage for the Honda doc this week, I'm also going to have to do that while doing the interviews, while doing the meetings, while doing the writing, while doing the commentary, while editing the audio.
Fun. We love that.
Yeah, I still got to promote the last episode that went live. So I'm very much, I'm exhausted. Like, I don't feel grand. I've like taken naps the last 2 days, and I never take naps.
Same.
We all know.
I literally took after I watched the movie for today's episode, I literally just took a 20-minute nap, nap in quotation marks, just because I was so dead. You would have seen me with legitimately just gone.
I'll be curious to see how this episode goes, because I think both of us are really exhausted, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time if this episode ends up running a little quicker than normal. I just think it's a combination of, it's a really short time span between our last recording. Our last recording was 4 days ago, and before that it was 2 days prior, and before that it was a week.
Right.
So we've recorded 4 things in the time span of about a week and a half.
It's been fun. I just wish I wasn't so busy otherwise at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right. It's one of those things where it's like we're recording all these episodes in a short time span, which in of itself is, a lot to do on top of our day jobs, on top of side projects, on top of just existing.
Right. Yeah. I am so thankful that my hours at my actual job are going down next week. Because I'm exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, it's more or less just being replaced with education.
Right.
Which I mean is fun and great. But it's also like, still busy. Might technically be more busy since especially if I get that second job.
Right, the internship. Yeah. Have you heard any updates on any of those internships?
No. I know they posted. I will say one of them I know hasn't gotten too many applications yet, so there's a good chance the one that I want to get in with the uni, there's a good chance I'll probably get that.
Good.
It's just kind of weird how the application is, so I'm a little worried about that, but should be fine. Worst comes to worst, the teacher's pretty chill. Maybe I send him a message. Maybe I send him an email. Yeah, I'm hopeful for that because that one would be really fun. But
keep me in the loop.
Also be busy.
Yeah. Definitely keep me in the loop.
So I'm taking Mondays off from my job starting next week, and it'll be interesting because Monday is like my main day. So it's like classes start at 8 a.m. I have 3 classes in that day. You want to take a guess when the last one finishes?
9 p.m.
Close. 7 p.m.
Oh, that's not terrible.
It's still like 11 hours, bro.
I mean, it's not back-to-back classes. It sounds like you go in the morning, you have like 4 hours off, go for an hour, 4 hours off, go for an hour.
No, it's like I go for 2 hours, have like 2 hours off, go back for another 2, and then have like 3 hours off, and then 2 more hours.
So take a nap.
Bro, it takes me like an hour to get there.
Just sleep in the common area. Do you not have a student lounge at your university?
Sure, I'll just sleep in the library.
That's what people do in America. It's not crazy.
I mean, I'm sure people do it here too. Maybe I'll ask my friends who have student accommodation. Yo, can I just nap at your place, broski?
Go for it.
Nah, but it'll be fun. But yeah, that part's going to be annoying.
I mean, I get it.
I might finally have more time for gym, though. So yippee. Maybe. We can pray.
So with how busy you've been, let me ask you this simple question. What tokusatsu have you watched?
If we want to start with Ultraman, absolutely nothing. Absolute zilch. I really want to continue Ultraman Ace, but I have not had a chance to. I did see the new, I guess, newest episodes, because I think last time it was only an episode 0 was out. But now I've seen episodes 1 and 2 of Garo Higashi no Kaido, I think is the name of the show, which is like Sentinel of the East. That's actually been pretty cool. I'm not huge on the visual style of it just being pretty much an entirely like green screen led show with like Unreal Engine type backgrounds. But the actual story has been a bit more interesting than some of the more recent Garo stuff. Garo kind of has this trope of a lot of the Goro projects are about like, a priest has gone rogue, they've turned evil, and it's been in a lot of the recent stuff that I'm so tired of it. It works, but I'm so tired of it as a plot line. So seeing a new Gara show doing something interesting is a lot of fun. There's like this ghost armor of sorts in the first episode. And yeah, it's pretty cool. The action choreography is fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm hopeful this show will turn out to be at least pretty good. It's got a better start than I expected, so that's promising. Outside of that, I don't know if I've really watched too much actual like tokusatsu. I did recently watch a couple Japanese films, one of which I actually saw in theaters. I guess it has some tokusatsu effects in a sense. I saw Love Exposure in theaters, which was a wild experience.
Of course you would watch Love Exposure in theaters.
Yeah, it is. Look, Sono. But that movie is unfortunately one of my favorite movies of all time. So it's like I had to see it in theaters at least once. And then actually just yesterday, when I didn't realize we were recording this episode today, I actually watched a film called Make the Last Wish, which is kind of a niche Sono, a very kind of unknown Sono movie that is, it's not a part of like the Hatred trilogy that Love Exposure is considered the first of, but Make the Last Wish is kind of considered like a B-side, like a related film to Love Exposure. Like two of the actresses from Love Exposure are playing very similar roles in it, and it shares a lot of the same music and even uses some unused shots from Love Exposure. But it's like it's such a different movie, but I really enjoyed it. It's a bizarre, like, supernatural revenge thriller that then is also like 10% 10% like a fake documentary based around a. Do you know who Avril Lavigne is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It's, you'd know the song. It's like that. Hey, you. I know that you like me. That song.
Okay.
Yeah, that song. The artist behind that. The movie is like framed around like an audition to sing with her, which was like a real event, and the lead actress of the movie did actually like apply for. It's so bizarre. Apparently it's an unfinished movie, but it was such an enjoyable watch. I absolutely loved it.
Well, that's good.
And then like the last thing I've got here that I humorously kind of forgot I watched, and probably would be for the best if I forgot that I rewatched it, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Didn't you bring that up last time?
I did not, I don't believe.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I have joined the King of the Monsters hate squad, I'm afraid.
I mean, that's not a hard thing to join.
Yeah, but look, man, I've been in denial for a few years, you know what I mean?
A few.
And rewatching it this time, I was like, wow. I don't think I'm enjoying this very much.
Yeah, it's not very good at all.
It is ugly. I was shocked how ugly it is.
It is ugly. It's ugly, and the CG's not good.
It sucks because the CG is actually, like, the animation for the CG is actually pretty good. The animation for all the monsters is pretty good, especially compared to recent MonsterVerse projects. But the actual visual look of the movie is like, wow, this is ugly. why does the whole movie look like this? It might be the ugliest movie in the Monsterverse. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely probably the worst made out of all 5 films. 5? Yeah, 5 films.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Michael Dougherty did not cook in the slightest. Like, oh my God. I there were several points where I was like, just, oh my God, what am I watching? I'm here sat watching 4 of my favorite monsters of all time, and I'm getting even less out of this film than I do some of the other Monsterverse films. Mm-hmm. Like, I would rather just watch. Like, I get more out of Mothra's role in GXK than I do anything in this movie nowadays. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of it.
Famously, never been a fan.
Well, actually, if you go back to the Kaiju Conversation, like episode 9, which I don't recommend, there's a reason it's got a tag old in all caps. Don't go back and listen to our old episodes.
Yeah, old things are bad.
Old things are bad, and I definitely was on the honeymoon phase of that movie. And I rode that movie pretty hard, and it's not good anymore. It wasn't good. It's not been good for at least half a decade.
Yeah. I could not believe I'd forgotten about this, and I don't know how I'd forgotten, but when the on-screen text Castle Bravo appeared in the movie, I was like, oh my God, Outpost 54. I could not believe that. That's like
only mildly offensive.
Bro, that's like if you made a Cloverfield sequel, you had like a secret base, like Area 51 or something, type base, and you called it like Outpost
911.
Outpost 911.
9.11.
Outpost 911 Trade Center. Like,
oh my God. WTC Outpost 911.
Literally, like, that's the level of what that is. Like, I could not believe that. Like, I was like, oh my God.
Hey, but it cool reference. Castle Bravo B nuclear test 54B year.
No way. No way. We love references. Thank you, Godzilla 2014, for starting our Castle Bravo references.
I love Oxygen Destroyer.
But yeah, no. Gratuitous references aside to real world events, yeah, it sucked.
But the music's good.
That is literally the only good thing in that movie. Bear McCreary is firing on all cylinders. Everyone else is firing blanks.
Ken Watanabe, I think, has a better performance.
He is. I'll give the cast this. They are doing what they can with the material.
They are acting with words on a page that they are performing.
They are trying. What a movie.
It's truly a king of a monster.
It was a king of a monsters for Michael Dougherty's career.
He went on to produce something for HBO Max. It's funny though, so on that note, real quickly, it's really funny because he was on the press tour. He was saying if King of the Monsters does well, he will get Trick or Treat 2 greenlit, and he will probably do Krampus 2. He literally was hyping it up to go back to his holiday horror franchise, because he was going to have Krampus and Trick or Treat kind of be a shared universe. And lo and behold, that didn't happen. I don't think he got any gigs after that either. Like, I think he quite literally, like, he produced something afterwards, and then I think he produced another thing, and then he's worked on GVK, and then in a lesser extent GXK.
He made one of the worst Godzilla movies and got thrown in director's jail for it.
I mean, it didn't do well at the box office either.
Yeah. That's enough of King of the Monsters for one day. Have you watched any Tokusatsu?
It sounds like I've watched more Tokusatsu than you have.
Probably yes.
So, have I been talking about Ultraman 80 on here?
I think so, yes. You've
How
been
far?
talking for it about like 2 years.
Okay, well, I got back into it. I've watched episodes 1 through 31.
Right. Are you going to finish?
Yeah. I'm on disc 4 of 6, and I'm halfway through the disc. So I have 2.5 discs left. I have 29 episodes. No. 19 episodes. I have 19 episodes left, and I am over Ultraman 80. The goal is to get it done before they do Ultraman Towards the Future and Ultraman the Ultimate Hero. I'm just kind of waiting on when those are going to get released because they got announced and we haven't had any pre-orders and we haven't had any, anything. Like, we don't even have box art. We just have the announcement in my photo that it's coming. So, yeah, I've been watching Ultraman 80. It is kind of starting to hit me that once I finish Ultraman 80, I've watched I've watched the majority of Showa era Tokusatsu from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. It's kaiju related, which is really scary.
Right. Almost all the Showa Ultraman 2, just missing out on like the compilation movies and like Ultraman story and stuff like that. Jeez.
Did you see that Return of Ultraman is getting a 4K?
A 4K? I did. Yeah. Hope it's good.
I'll be curious how long until it comes stateside, because we're getting Ultraman and Ultra 7 this year.
It'd be nice if they announce Ultra Q for Mill Creek.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see. I mean, Ultra Q, they have the 4K and they have the colorized version they've yet to do. They were supposed to do the colorized version like years ago, but they ended up not doing that.
Yeah. Well, anything else outside of Ultraman 80?
No, that's it. But I've watched 12 and a half hours, so I technically have watched more than you.
Well, damn. Just. Love Exposure is like 4 hours. But just.
It's not Toku, it's not Kaiju.
Oh, yep. Nishimura worked on it. Okay.
It's not good enough.
Oh, look, man, he goes crazy on the blood in a couple scenes. It's okay.
On the topic of TV shows, did you see that they actually just announced the look at the Gamera Rebirth Blu-ray box set?
Oh, they did?
Yeah, it's got both versions. It's got the Netflix and it's got the NHK version. It's got like a handful of trailers, a promotional video, and then it's got a booklet with it.
Oh,
nothing
yeah,
too crazy.
I see this, yeah.
That's still nothing on the crowdfunding.
I was just about to joke about that.
I don't think
happened to that.
I feel like it was the Blu-ray. Like, I feel like somehow, like, because they say it's a campaign. Like, they were saying, like, if you go and look on the Gamera Rebirth website, they say, like, the campaign for the Blu-ray. So I think it might have been that. Like, maybe the deluxe edition that we're seeing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. That was so weird.
On the topic of TV shows, you didn't mention that you watched any Space Sheriff Gavon, because that is officially out.
But I did hear about that. Yes, it did come out.
Is it good? Oh, you don't know. Never mind.
I don't really know. Yeah, but I I think the reception is mostly positive. What I have heard is I did hear recently that after this current Gavin show, I think the next Project Red is dropping some of the design teams that have been working on Sentai for the past few years.
Yeah, the company that like primarily did Sentai is closing.
Yeah.
And apparently like the Project Red stuff is only running for like 6 months or something.
Huh?
Apparently the Project Red stuff is like half of a Sentai show.
Right. So what? Gavin's only going to be 25 eps?
Something like that. I've seen 25 to 29.
Huh. Right.
You didn't see anything like that?
No, I did not. I don't follow Sentai Twitter too closely, admittedly.
It's been popping up all in my like.
It did not pop up for me at all.
Like all the Project Red stuff is popping up for me.
Like I see some of the Project Red stuff. I've seen like a little bit on like Gavin and whatnot, but I had not seen that at all. That's crazy. Yeah, that is actually crazy. I will say the good thing I have been hearing is that, at least according to some tweets I've seen, the show does feel actually different from Sentai. Will it stay with that feeling? Who knows? But apparently it does feel pretty distinct from Sentai.
Well, that's good to hear.
Mm.
Outside of that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in terms of like Toei Sentai news. I'm really shocked, they were promoting Gavin as an international thing, but like there is no simulcast, there is nothing. They're not doing a Zets thing whatsoever.
Yeah. Toei dropping the ball as always.
Which is so weird. I thought they would have been like really pushing this as an international thing because it's clear they're wanting to do more international stuff.
Right, yeah. No, it's weird. Outside of Gavin, there's also recently been some announcements regarding the Kamen Rider Agito movie with some new cast members joining. A lot of new faces, but also a couple returning stars from Kamen Rider O's. One of the actresses from Kamen Rider Geats, who got her start in the Garo spin-off Zero Dragon Blood, is also playing a character in there in the movie, which is pretty cool. And yeah, they revealed the new Kamen Rider G6 suit, which looks really cool.
What is Kamen Rider G6?
So in Agito, if you've seen like the blue sort of mechanical looking Kamen Rider, he kind of looks like a mecha, like a lot more cybernetic than the usual Kamen Rider design. Kamen Rider G6 is like the next stage in that, like the newest version of that design.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And alongside her is still the original G3 and the G3X from the show.
So that's exciting. I'm curious now because they've been promoting that as international, but with Gavin not being an international thing, I'm wondering what that entails for the Agito movie.
To be fair, at least in Agito's case, they've actually stated directly international release coming. I don't think they ever confirmed that with Gavin.
That's fair.
It still sucks in Gavin's case, but Agito, there's actually some more promise here. Now, hopefully that means the show will also get an English release. That would be really nice outside of Toku HD.
On the topic of new movies, did you see that Minoru Kawasaki is coming back with another movie?
I did hear a little bit about it.
So, director Kawasaki just wrapped on Kaiju Tengoku, or Monster Heaven, and he announced the crowdfunding for his next film, which is going to be a tokusatsu movie. Dolphins are attacking. It's based off of an artwork by Shigeru Komatsuzaki. And it's these dolphins that have guns firing at a bunch of people.
Naturally.
So, the artist has worked on kaiju films before. He worked on the Matango for Matango. He worked on the Gotengo for Atragon. He's worked on Dogora. He's worked on the Mysterians, Battle in Outer Space. He's a very prolific artist. He's very popular in Japan. He even worked on Thunderbirds. The plot for the movie that was announced was Mizukawa, a researcher at the Marine Biology Institute, spends his days immersed in the study of dolphin language. One day, Funahashi, the president of the organization Earth Peace, visits to support the dolphin research. Mizukawa senses something strange about Funahashi's words and actions. Then a mysterious, beautiful girl appears, giving an ominous warning. Stop polluting the ocean. The dolphins are coming to attack you. Before disappearing. Soon, dolphins navigating tanks and wielding weapons appear at the research institute and begin attacking the humans. The dolphins' attack is a declaration of war against all of humanity. What will be the outcome of the battle between dolphins and humans? It made its Kickstarter or its campfire goal, and Kawasaki's very excited. They're going to start filming here in a couple months or a couple weeks probably, and it's supposed to be released in late 2026. This will probably be the only other movie Kawasaki does this year. He might do a third. Usually he does 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest name in the movie is Daigoto, who plays the role of Daiichi Izusu in Kamen Rider Geats. Everybody else isn't really prolific in terms of like tokusatsu
Daiichi
titles.
And Geats. Daiichi and Geats. Oh, wait. Is he? Oh, that guy. Oh, that guy.
So we'll see how that goes. But so, I mean, are we doing Ultraman 80?
I would really love to, but unfortunately I have not sat down and watched a single episode of Ultraman 80 in my life, so.
I see. So what are we going to do?
I don't know, but I'm feeling a little chaotic, you could say.
What else is new?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It's always chaotic here, man. It's always chaotic.
So if we don't have a movie that we watched because we're so busy, what's the point of us being here?
God, do we need a reason to like talk to each other now? Is that where the friendship is now? I see how it is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly what I meant.
What? Okay. Wow, I really do see how it is.
Wow.
Yeah, with my voice sound like this, I really do sound like RFK Jr., eh? Last episode, we were talking about Meatball Machine, right?
We were, yes. That was Are we doing the 1999 Meatball Machine full-length one?
No, but I did watch that and talk a little bit about it in the last bonus.
That's true. Are we doing... Oh, God. Are we doing Tokyo Gore Police?
That would be fun. But sadly, no. It would be fun, though.
Machine Girl.
No, sadly never seen it.
I'm drawing a blank here. What could we possibly be talking about then?
See, I think I know, but I'm going to lay one more suggestion on you. Mm-hmm. Have you ever sat down in your life for 4 hours to watch Love Exposure?
No.
Damn it!
Nice try, buddy.
I'm forcing you. One day, against your will, you are watching that movie. Well, today we are covering a very legendary film. Not by Legendary Pictures, thankfully.
Is it a movie by David Lynch?
I wish.
Are we doing Dune? Because I don't love that movie.
No, we are not covering Dune. But I do love David Lynch. No,
in all seriousness, yeah, let's hear it.
Today we are covering Shinya Tsukamoto's legendary film. Do you want to do the honors?
Thank you. Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Yes.
Now, oh God, where do we even start? Do we want to pick up where we left off with Meatball Machine? Because they are oddly connected.
Yeah. Well, kind of. Meatball Machine, we talked a bit about Tetsuo because, frankly, Tetsuo was just such a massive influence on Meatball Machine. From just looking at the film on a purely visual level, the aesthetic of it, the necroborgs from that film, very, very clearly share a very similar DNA in the body horror, in the style of body horror, to Tetsuo the Iron Man.
I mean, it's not a secret. Between Tetsuo the Iron Man and Versus, you have everything you needed to set up the world of splatterpunk.
Right.
Tetsuo brought more of your cyberpunk side, and Versus brought more of the splatter side. And between those two films, you had a recipe for a genre. And even in like splatterpunk fashion, Tetsuo's impact on the world was more on a global scale than it was domestically, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But no, Tetsuo is the first big movie to be a splatterpunk genre film. It is absolutely more cyberpunk. It is more body horror. It's more science fiction than most splatterpunk films following.
Right, but regardless of the semantics of whether or not you would call it a splatterpunk, it is absolutely one of the most influential films on that subgenre of Japanese filmmaking.
Right. So, I guess, where do we want to start with this? Because there's also, I guess we could establish there is kind of a prequel. It's not an actual prequel. It is... He shot Tetsuo the Iron Man right after finishing a 45-minute short film called The Adventures of Denshu Kozo, which translates to Lightning Rod Boy. So that film, we will eventually cover it. We didn't do it this time around. But I don't want to step on the feet of Denshu Kozo that much. But that's absolutely where a lot of the world of Tetsuo comes from. And even before that, there was a short film, like a shorter short film. I want to say it's like 13 minutes long, called The Phantom of Regular Size.
Right, yeah. Which Tetsuo even begins by saying it's in, with the title card saying it's in the same series.
Right, it's the third film in the series. It goes The Phantom of Regular Size, The Adventures of Denshu Kozo, Tetsuo the Iron Man, and then Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer, and Tetsuo the Bullet Man. And that's your Phantom of Regular Size series that morphed into more of a Tetsuo franchise.
Right. And yeah, even more so than Denshu Kozo, Phantom of Regular Size is... Yeah, it is it practically feels like the pitch for Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Right. It's about a salaryman whose body turns into scrap metal, which is word for word what the plot of Tetsuo could be described as.
Right. And it just so happens to coincidentally share the exact same cast.
Right. Nobuo Kanaoka? Shinya Tsukamoto and Tomaruo Taguchi are
plus
all
Kei
in
Fujiwara.
Mm-hmm. Which, I guess, do we want to establish where they all met? Because that's kind of the birth of all of this.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think we should probably talk a little bit about Shinya Tsukamoto himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Shinya Tsukamoto, as a young man, grew up loving kaiju and the surrealism of specifically Ultra Q and whatnot, and through that developed an interest in filmmaking and telling stories.
It's also important to note that he loved the work of Edogawa Rampo, which is a mystery novelist, which oddly enough, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but his novels, some of them had a tendency to be a little homosexual in nature, which I think is very important to something, later on. Jeffrey Engels has done some work on Rampo's work, and he talked about it in our Mothra interview a little bit. He loves Rampo's work, so that's why I know a little bit about him.
Right, gotcha. I know Tsukamoto would go on to adapt one of his works, I believe, in Gemini.
Yes. Twins is the novel, and it got adapted into Gemini.
Right, gotcha. Outside of just filmmaking, Tsukamoto would also go into theater work, partially due to his own disillusionment and having doubts about film. Right.
It is important to note that when he was growing up during, because he was 4 or 28 when he did Tetsuo. I want to say it was 28.
I believe, 27 or 28 when he did Tetsuo.
So when you take, you go back in time, that means he was born about 61, 62 in that time frame. I don't have his page pulled up, but
get the exact. He was born on January 1st in 1960.
Oh, January 1st,
I knew it was 1960. I didn't realize it was January 1st.
So the important thing to note there is by the time that he was cognitive to watch children's television, 5 or 6 years old, that's when Ultra Q, Ultraman, Space Giants, all that started. By the time that the Toho Champion Festival began in 1969, he was 9 years old. He was the prime age group, the prime age demographic. So when Gamera and Godzilla and all the Ultraman and all the Kaiju and Tokusatsu stuff was coming out, he was prime for that. And so by the time Tokusatsu moved on, he was 16, right? So he was getting to his teenage years where he probably was leaving behind some of that kid stuff. But the film industry, as he was going into it, was at its worst. There was not a lot going on. And so naturally, somebody who is wanting to get into the film industry and is not really capable due to connections, due to money, due to, XYZ, you're going to have doubts, which is why he stepped into the world of theater. He also was able to eventually get an advertising job, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but I interrupted you as you were telling our story here.
Well, you just more or less continued my story. He would work on many plays throughout the years before working on Tetsuo and really getting into the film industry outside of advertising. But his work in theater would bring him a lot of friendships with many of the people who he would go on to work with, including such actors as Tomoro Taguchi, who we would meet through his theater work.
Now, it was after, technically. So after theater, because he left theater, right? He left to do to work at an advertising agency, but he hated it. It took him 18 months before he could start actually working on film, like advertising, directing commercials, stuff like that. He worked insane hours and was never home, and that really impacted him. And eventually he just said, screw it, I'm done. I want to do theater. And he got kicked out of his parents' house, and he would establish Kaiju Theater.
Yes.
Which is where he specifically met Kei Fujiwara.
Yeah, who was an actress who had previously been a member of playwright Juro Kara's company, which is noteworthy since Juro Kara storytelling was a massive influence on Tsukamoto.
And while they were, so with Kaiju Theater, that's where he began these short film ideas. They were plays. They were small short plays that they would perform. And then they turned them into short films. And that's where Phantom of Regular Size came from. And then Adventures of Denshu Kozo. And then the plan was to create a new short film after Denshu Kozo.
Mm-hmm.
Which turned out to be Tetsuo the Iron Man. Originally, it was going to be about 30 minutes long. And the decision to make it a black and white film, because Denshu Kozo's in color, was after watching some Derek Jarman films. He's an American filmmaker who did a lot of black and white work in the 80s. And so Tsukamoto wanted to follow that.
Another thing I also want to bring up, just a little bit of extra context about the industry, where the Japanese film industry was as a whole. Obviously, last time we talked about this kind of stuff, I'd mentioned that there was a lot of punk movements at the time. Around the 70s and 80s was really where punk movements in Japan were really taking off and were taking effect over all creative fields, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why both not just film, but also theater was starting to become more subversive and anarchistic. Juro Kara was one of the people who was spearheading this sort of punk movement. Tsukamoto himself and many of the people around him were well within the punk scene. Tsukamoto actually used to perform in a band. And as well as that, for the film industry around this time, you had the rise of Sogo Gakushu Ishii, whom created what is considered to be the first major Japanese cyberpunk film, Burst City.
Really?
Yeah. Because, that film, it's more of just a straight punk film rather than necessarily cyberpunk. There was no real... The interesting thing about the cyberpunk genre, the Japanese cyberpunk genre with regards to its formation, and even with Tetsuo, is there wasn't really an intention to create that sort of Japanese cyberpunk movement. It kind of just happened pretty naturally on its own, just as a result, I suppose, of the general punk aesthetics and whatnot. But yeah, even though that film is a bit more of a, I guess, musically based film, as far as I understand, it has a lot of the stylings, a lot of stylistic similarities to Tetsuo, and Sogo Ishii has talked about in interviews about how his goal with the film was less about plot or dialogue or really telling a story, and more just to show the full intensity of a moment, which in some respects is almost what the Japanese cyberpunk genre, as seen in films like Tetsuo, is in a sense kind of all about.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then there were other films which followed, such as Shigeru Izumiya's Death Powder, which I don't know if Tsukamoto's ever talked about that being an influence, but I have seen several people citing it as a likely influence visually. It has some of a very similar style to Tetsuo and it's described as very Lynchian, particularly in the way sound is used in that film, which is something that I feel Tetsuo absolutely shares. It feels, the way sound is used in Tetsuo feels very similar to David Lynch's Eraserhead.
Right. When I was doing my research, I saw a lot of citing of Blade Runner, Videodrome, The Fly. I even read that Marshall Arisman, who is an artist, Tsukamoto was inspired by his artwork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Videodrome is a common one that I hear. Which unfortunately I've never seen that movie.
Likewise. And I haven't seen Eraserhead. I own it. I was going to try and watch it, but I ran out of time.
Unlucky. But yeah, no. So punk was really just kind of at its peak in Japan, as far as I understand, around this time. And outside of Tsukamoto himself, I believe Tomoro Taguchi was, as far as I understood, was at least somewhat involved in the scene as well and whatnot.
For Tetsuo?
Oh, I meant Taguchi was at least somewhat in the punk scene. To what extent, I don't exactly know, but that's what I read.
Yeah, so that's all. The punk movement's very important to this, of course.
Yeah.
It's also important to note that Tsukamoto did all of this by himself. He would be the one who would come up with production costs, and he's the one, they ended up filming, he's the one who got all of the film stock and all that. It was shot on a Canon Scopic with 10 reels of black and white film stock. It was 16 millimeter, which then... funny enough, they took and blew up to 35, which is why it's such a grainy film, because it all comes back to the fact that they were blowing up 16 millimeter to twice its size. And so everything would kind of be done by Tsukamoto for the most part. There was a little bit that was done elsewhere, which we'll talk about a little bit later in terms of finances. But everything was through Tsukamoto. He did, and I guess this is something he's done since, is oftentimes he will fund his own movies. He will write and he will direct and he will edit them. He will oftentimes be the leading actor or one of the lead actors.
Right, yeah, even to this day.
So, I guess my question is, where do you want to go from here, Rex? Do we dive into production?
I guess so. Diving straight in to set the stage. It kind of sounds like it was a nightmare.
Yeah, so production began in September of 1987 with about 4 months of filming, so they ran from September into January of 1988. The other actors, Renji Ishibashi and Naomasa Musaka, were brought in. They were experienced actors and actresses. They were brought in due to Shinya Tsukamoto being a fan of their work. He sent them fan letters and asked if they would be in his movies, so they agreed and did it. However, when you have such a small group of people and you're in indie production, and you have somebody who's your cameraman, your director, your writer, one of your lead actors, and kind of everything you can think of, I imagine he was not the nicest person to work with.
Oh, it doesn't. It sounds like probably not.
I remember reading that Tsukamoto was really inspired by Akira Kurosawa, which sounds like that was not for the best.
There's a quote from Taguchi talking about his experiences with Tsukamoto where he says, "I've always kept a certain distance from him, and that hasn't changed. I think it's because of that distance that our relationship continues. For him, work goes beyond personal feelings." Much of the cast and crew, pretty much almost all of the cast and crew, outside of like some of those actors you mentioned before, were friends of Tsukamoto's. Kei Fujiwara, for example, was a very close friend of Tsukamoto's prior to.
They even used her place to film a bulk of it.
Right, they filmed there, and most of the cast and crew was staying at her house outside of Taguchi, really.
Who I guess lived nearby, so he was able to commute.
Right, yeah. And yeah, reportedly as production went on, very infamously, Kei Fujiwara and Tsukamoto's relationship completely soured over the course of the production, with them constantly getting into arguments. But even with the rest of the crew, they were kind of dropping like flies, to the point where even the film's lead actor, Taguchi, would be operating the lighting equipment because no one would be there to do it.
And it's kind of crazy because the description pretty much has been that once a day somebody would leave. And that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. By the end, it pretty much was just Tsukamoto and the other actors, apparently.
So by the end of production, it was just Taguchi and Tsukamoto. So that's why during the final fight, because they shot the final fight last, the final fight ended up being something that when they were filming it, everybody had left.
Yeah.
And so what you end up seeing is when Tsukamoto's on screen, Taguchi's behind the camera. And when Taguchi's in front of the camera, it's Tsukamoto behind. And that's how they were able to finish the film, is basically a two-man setup. I can't help but wonder, because from what I was able to look at, the film was shot in silence. It was silence. They added the sound after the fact. So I wonder if it was like the day of they would record the audio or what. Because normally speaking, the way that would work is you would film it all and then do the sound. But it sounds like everybody had left before the sounds could be added. And clearly their voices are in it. So I wonder if he would do it like he would get the dailies developed as soon as possible, and then people would record their audio and he would put that in there.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's one of those things that I don't have an answer for, but everything points to like something like that had to have occurred.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, no. An absolute disaster of a set, and one that, just seems like an absolute nightmare for everyone involved, most of all Tsukamoto.
Yeah, and eventually he would have to use his place, because once Fujiwara left, he was kind of left to do it himself, so that's what he ended up doing, which, he would, it kind of sucks because even during production, Fujiwara was the assistant director. She would film everything Tsukamoto was in at the time. But essentially what happened is it was money, it was time, it was Tsukamoto, everything. and eventually production ran out of money.
Yeah.
So he had to create a trailer from what they had to show to distributors, and that's when he, through an acquaintance, got to contact Japan Home Video, who at the time was deeply invested in, these short form horror movies that were more shocking. It was pre V Cinema. It was the straight to home video market. So this was right up their alley. So they would invest money and help him get what he needed to finish the production.
Mm-hmm.
But once filming concluded in January of 1988, he realized he would need more, and then he would go out by himself and shoot additional photography for insert shots and landscapes and all that. And that lasted until the end of 1988, which led to him getting a rough cut done, which had a runtime of about 77 minutes. Now, the version we have is 67 minutes, so there's about 10 minutes of footage that got cut.
Right.
That final version was done in January of 1989, so a month later. They had reduced the sex scene that we see in the movie, the actual sex scene. There is a scene where they murder the doctor that got cut, and then during the Kanaoka chase scene, she ends up tap dancing, which that got removed as well because they thought that was too absurd. Funny enough, that full version does exist. It got released on DVD in Japan as Tetsuo Perfect Edition.
Oh, really?
It is never, it's never been released stateside, but I'd love to see what that looks like. There was also a scrapped scene of the salaryman's house that Tsukamoto wanted to do, where his house would turn into scrap metal, probably through miniatures, but due to budget, he had to cut that scene.
Right.
There's conflicting reports, but I'm going to go with what the Japan Times reported. The budget was supposedly 13 million yen, which once you convert that to modern day yen, that's 14,952,530 yen, which when you convert that into US dollar, you're at $97,757.39, which actually lines up oddly close enough to the $100,000 budget that the other sources state, the Western sources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention to sort of add to the point of the just how much of the crew was involved in the punk scene. The composer of the film, Chu Ishikawa, whom Tsukamoto had found through his work through the album Zeitlich Vergelter, no idea if that's pronounced right, was another that was a punk group that he was in, that he found him through.
Interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, when it came to composing the score, Tsukamoto essentially just asked him to create a score out of the sound of beating metal.
Right, which ends up being this very industrial, very interesting score, all things considered. So I guess from here we can also bring up, during the editing process, at one point Tsukamoto was kind of giving up to add on to the disaster of this production. He was exhausted, but The Adventures of Denshu Kozo ended up winning the grand prize at the PF Film Festival.
That's right,
and
yes.
He ended up getting a second win to finally go and finish it, which was really good for him. At the very end of all of it, the film ended up getting shown at a single theater with 80 seats on July 1st of 1989. And it wouldn't really see any critical acclaim until getting shown in Rome. The place it premiered at was the Nakano Musashino Hall. And then it got shown at the Fanta Festival in Rome, where it won the Best Film award and led to it getting a U.S. release and international attention, in which then it finally got a nice theatrical showing or release in Japan. So this is where like the idea of splatterpunk being an international thing, I think, really started at. It's got its start here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it ended up helping to put Japanese cinema, which had at that point been pretty stagnant, helped put it back on the map.
Mm-hmm. It was one of those films that definitely like helped keep things in the world of Japanese cinema alive and well. And it added to like the extreme cinema thing as well, which was very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And would just go on to be even more important around in the years to come in the home video market.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with that being said, do we want to go ahead and dive into the film itself?
I think so, yeah. I think it's about time we get into it.
So, I guess we can start. It starts with this tracking shot of a man in this industrial place, and it's all shaky cam because like it's all handheld. There's no stabilizer or anything like that. And then we end up, this person we've been following, we end up at his house, which looking at his house for me gets me really uncomfortable just because of like all the detail, all the insane like metal and just everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. The detail I love is in this shot of him like taking like, I think it's like a scarf or something that he's wearing off, and you just see like it's not really focused on, but just in the background you see like this, it's like a metal doll almost that of like a humanoid figure, and it doesn't immediately stand out in the frame, but when you notice it, it's such, I was like, is that person? Is that a person shaped thing? Is that like an object that just coincidentally looks like it? And then in the following shots, it's like, yeah, that's deliberate, but it's such a good little thing in the background there that I absolutely love.
The opening does a really good job at establishing that everything you see in the camera is intentional. He wanted to make smart decisions with what he put in. And we see that as we progress through, like, we get a lot of, he loves tracking shots. He loves pans. He loves that camera moving.
Right. Yeah.
So eventually we get to a really disturbing scene with him cutting open his thigh with, blood gushing out.
Right. Before inserting a piece of metal into the gash in his thigh.
Which during all this, like, there's some really ominous, like, metal music, not metal, but like the sound of metal.
Right.
Industrial music that sounds so good. And then on top of that, like the unsettling sound design, like before he puts it in, he puts this piece of rhubarb in his thigh, he puts it in his mouth and like rubs it across his teeth, which creates this like nails on a chalkboard sound.
Right, which an effect like that is used throughout the film and in its sound design as well. And there's a lot of this character specifically during a lot of the first half, whenever he appears, is very often like framed in shots within a shot where he's just framed by different pieces of metal. He's framed by like the ceiling, the fan on the ceiling and the grate.
No, it's very like intentional that he's like everything about his little lair, I guess you could say. It's just, I do love it. I love the framing of this movie, and you really get, with all this, you get to see the stark contrast with the black and white. You see how the colors pop, and by colors I mean gray and white and black, but those colors really do a number on everything, and it's just really well done in terms of like visually making it look interesting.
Right, yeah. I mean, Tsukamoto always manages to create very interesting looking visuals, even when he, with or without color, he's always able to do something create a very unique look to his films.
Mm-hmm. So as we progress, like eventually find out that his rhubarb in his thigh has become infected, which of course it would be, and he goes out on a run, in which we kind of get the setup for the entire movie, where he gets hit by this car. But we also get this like really like romantic kind of
this
goofy
like music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then as that, and it's every shot in this is so like intricately like done. It has a reason, and it doesn't always make sense. It's very obtuse. We get this weird close up, this zoom in of the car, specifically its headlights, and eventually that fades into this text on a wall saying "newlywed," which is going to be important later on in the film, establishing our characters are newlywed characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get probably the greatest intro in the world. We get this title sequence with Taguchi in it, with the Chu Ichikawa track known as Megatron, which is a fun little name. And it is Taguchi doing this crazy dance with this flashing lights, intense close-ups, quick cuts. If you want to talk about, and then eventually the text Tetsuo in English flashes on screen, and it just kind of rolls in front of you. It is easily the greatest intro I have ever seen for a film.
It might be the most influential intro on your filmmaking style.
I was wondering when we were going to talk about that. Do you want to talk about that now, or did you want to wait?
I mean, I feel like this intro is like the most obvious thing that you kind of take influence from. Some of your works, your Amity Q, in which you play one of the characters in that film, has a moment that feels very inspired by this performance from Taguchi, and even more your small section in the film Dissectoid. That was what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Your small section. Even more than that, feels like an absolute tribute to that. You were even in a suit and tie for that, if I recall correctly.
I was actually in a suit and tie for both. So yeah, my most recent films, besides Edo Kami, and even then Edo Kami sometimes has some interesting angles, I think. So for Dissectoid, I did a segment. It's a short film, and it's an anthology short film. And my segment is called Rust, which is very much relevant to the film we're talking about. And it's just supposed to be this shock short film. It's only about 12 seconds. It was the idea of like you get more and more short films, and they get quicker as time goes on. And I shot this. It was inspired by two things specifically. It was inspired by this intro because I am doing this crazy laugh and I'm moving around, jerking myself. And it was also inspired by when Ash, the android, gets hit by the stun baton in Alien. I actually had milk and cottage cheese in my mouth. Oh, it was disgusting.
For one day, you got to live the traumatic experiences of Ian Holm.
Except I wasn't lactose intolerant. Poor Ian Holm. So yeah, that Dissectoid especially was a lot of this introduction, and then for the Amity Q, you are right. There's a segment where I like walk towards a camera and I have flashing lights on me, and even more than that, there's a lot of shots. Tsukamoto likes to do insert shots or just random establishing shots. He is definitely inspired by Akio Jisoji. That was something when I first watched this movie. I was like, oh my God, this is like a messed up Ultra Q episode. And so, yeah, I feel like if you watch Tetsuo and then you watch my stuff, you're like, oh my God, he's just copying Tsukamoto. But I just love his style. I love the zoom. I love the tracking. I just love his style. And I think Tetsuo is such a raw movie because of that amount of creativity. It's a film that honestly I don't think I've ever watched another movie that raw.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ahead of myself here because you started me on this whole thing because when you watched it, I don't even think I had to tell you that the films were inspired by Tetsuo for you to know that.
I mean, it's very obvious. Even if I didn't know that you liked Tetsuo, I could see it. But yeah, no. Raw is a very, very good word to describe this film. It is a very raw film in its feel. However you want to interpret the meaning of that word, that is absolutely what Tetsuo is.
Yeah, and so as soon as we finish this title sequence, we're right back into it with the salaryman who is shaving. And something I really love, there's a couple things here. There is some shots of the adventures of Denshu Kozo on his TV screen, which is a really fun nod if you know his work. And then more than that, I just love, he sees this piece of metal or whatever is sticking out of him. And it's on his cheek and he goes to squeeze it like it's a pimple and it just busts open with blood.
Yeah.
And he doesn't react. Like he is like, oh, that popped and that's blood. And that's it. There's no freak out. There's no like, what's going on? They just quickly jump to him on the phone with his newlywed wife, I'm assuming, where they're just saying hello.
I thought that said New World at the beginning, by the way. I did not read newlywed.
Maybe it is New World.
I could have sworn that's what it said. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember, but I could have sworn.
I feel like it was Newlywed, but it might be New World. It would make sense because as soon as that car hits him, it's a new world for him, and then it's a new world later when they go back to it.
Yeah.
You might be right about that, actually.
Regardless, yeah, he calls his girlfriend, and they talk about the hit and run incident from the beginning of the movie.
And then we quickly jump to our salaryman at the subway.
Right. While he's stressing out, a woman nearby him sees a small piece of metal on the ground.
Yeah, and I will say, this scene I've yet to fully grasp what exactly is happening. Because she grabs a pencil and she pokes it. And when she pokes it, she ends up... I can't tell if she's like poking a little man in it or what. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I always just took it as it was like... I just took it as like a piece of metal that Tsukamoto's character, the metal fetishist, just had control of. Like Tsukamoto's in his own sort of world at this point. That metal is probably just a part of him that he can that's in the real world, so to speak, that he can control.
That would make sense.
And this piece of metal is used to then possess the woman here.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a very claustrophobic chase sequence. Tsukamoto does a great job at establishing like claustrophobia. Like at some points, he's keeping the character, like he has the camera right above or right below Taguchi's shoulders, and so it's mostly just the roof. You don't see the open hallway. It's mostly just Taguchi running and the ceiling, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. You know, it's not conventional, and because he is running in front of them, it's shaky cam, and it's not entirely the most like steady all the time. But at certain points it gets steady, but it's still like the point of like the field of view and where he wants your view or where he wants your eye to go is always determined. He's always making decisions like that on where he wants to guide your eye for the scene.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's also got some very, very frantic editing alongside it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very quick cuts. And sometimes even just you can kind of tell that they were filming without a permit because they're like trying to avoid people, which is just a little charm of it, I think.
Just some good old-fashioned guerrilla filmmaking, man.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, eventually after almost escaping her, she tracks him down to a bathroom and whatnot. I mean, pretty much there's this whole, like, 10 minutes. It's like a 10-minute long chase sequence.
Yeah, I think at this point it's about 6 or 7 minutes. I do love the bathroom scene because you get that sense of, oh, he's lost her, and then she shows up, and she's like it's really creepy because she's like peering over the stall, and there's this like fencing covering the stall that she like is at, and he stabs her thinking that, oh, she's gonna die and he can get away, and then she gets to infect him with her metal, which is where we get the first of multiple shots of the I'm trying to think what it is. It's frame by frame motion shots, essentially. It's supposed to represent like moving very quickly. And it's the metal that infects Taguchi's character, the salaryman, then uses these jet propulsion things on his feet to fly to a garage.
Right. As far away as he might be, she still manages to follow him, unfortunately.
And then we get a pretty gruesome death of her. Like, he ends up crushing her to death as he gets slowly more and more infected. One of the things I really like about this is, I don't know, I suspect perhaps they couldn't get her to do the voices after editing began because she was a higher profile actor. So it makes me wonder, because we end up hearing somebody say, like, come on, and it sounds like Tsukamoto instead.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is Tsukamoto.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like, it probably was we don't have her to do the voice, but he, like, it also makes sense because, like, he might be controlling her.
Well, yeah, that's how I took it, as him just possessing her.
I thought it was a nice little detail, and we get a lot of insert shots of Tsukamoto's character kind of jerking around in his little area until we jump back into the bathroom. It is a little weird how it jumps from the bathroom to the garage back to the bathroom, but that's a bit of that surrealism that it's trying to go for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we jump in there with Taguchi just freaking out because just of this from the start of his body's, I hesitate to say, slow transformation.
Metamorphosis.
I
do like how he isn't fully aware of the things that are going on. Like, it's just happening and he doesn't realize it. I think that's kind of a cool little touch.
Right. Yeah. he's discovering all this basically alongside the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we fully get to see the sort of jet propulsors on his legs as he then sleep propels himself to his home as he has a very erotic dream alongside it.
And see, this is one of those scenes where it's like you have to watch it to believe it.
Yeah, it's very hard to describe.
So Kei Fujiwara's character is dressed up to be kind of like her clothing is metallic, and she's wearing this how do we keep this episode G-rated?
A very phallic metal tube
with Haraguchi's character on his knees,
all naked,
just kind of sitting there waiting for something. And this is where we do get our first little glimpse at the stop motion effects in this movie, which were all done by Tsukamoto himself.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love seeing stop motion. And honestly, like, his stop motion's not like fluid, but I do love it all the same. I think it's really cool.
Right, but it not being fluid, I think, adds to the film.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
But yeah, this very psychosexual dream sequence just gets more and more intense with the eroticism as beyond the clear phallic imagery comes some just straight penetration.
Right. So after the penetration, it's intercut with like a bunch of shots of like a city and skies and all that. And it ends on a sign of no parking. And this makes me want to ask you a question. Does this movie have subtextual metaphors about victims to sexual assault? Did you get that at all from this movie?
I don't know. This is a very, very curious scene, and eroticism is something that is a consistent theme in a lot of Tsukamoto's works. A Snake of June in particular
Vital.
is a very... I haven't seen Vital, unfortunately, but you're probably right.
The idea of Vital is his partner is dead and he's exploring fantasies with her body.
Ah, right. Yeah, gotcha. A Snake of June, from what I recall of that movie, the girl in that was being stalked and sexually harassed by this stalker that was played by Tsukamoto, if I recall correctly, in that film.
Yeah.
That was like... I want to say he stole her panties. I could be wrong on that one.
That sounds like something that would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, my memory's a little vague on A Snake of June, but...
Well, so here's why I question if you got any of the pseudo like sexual assault metaphors, because it lingers on no after she penetrates him without really his consent, and he looks like he's not loving it.
Right.
And then more so than that, later on when we get a little glimpse at the background of the metal fetishist, the person who beats him does use the same stick in a phallic sense before he starts beating the kid. The kid's saying, "Stop it, stop it, stop it," and he doesn't. And then you could even go as far as to say that our salaryman ends up trying to use a weapon of his here in a couple scenes later to forcibly penetrate Kei Fujiwara's female character.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is a subtle like I don't know, maybe Tsukamoto was the victim of sexual assault or something, but I do feel like this movie explores the idea, and you could even go as far as to say by the end of the movie, like, the metal fetishist is not wanting to merge with the salaryman, but he still forces him into him, and they're forced to be in love. I wonder if there is something like that going on.
Very, very, very well could be. I don't know. I hadn't thought too much about it. But like sexuality is absolutely a big part of Tsukamoto's just filmography, and this is a very, very psychosexual film, even regardless on whether or not that is necessarily the intention of it. But that is very interesting. I don't know I don't know entirely what to make of it, because I don't know. This is very much a vibes film. There's not necessarily a grand central thesis to the film. This film feels like it feels like the result of a lot of obviously a lot of different ideas, but then also a lot of pent up frustration and rage. The salaryman character most certainly is, and it's even been stated directly by Tsukamoto, is absolutely inspired by Tsukamoto's experience in the advertising company he worked for, and his frustrations with that industry, and presumably how that was just the constant workload and pressure of that was likely just driving him mad and whatnot. So it's hard to really analyze this fully without having further context without having even more context into Tsukamoto's life, because the psychosexual aspect of Tetsuo is genuinely a very interesting and very, very prevalent aspect throughout the entire film. The whole metallic imagery is almost always imbued with some sense or degree of eroticism. There is a lot of phallic imagery throughout. A lot of different metal objects are being used as allusions to specifically penises.
Yeah, and I really love how much you can look into this film and how little you actually know, because it is meant to be vague, right? It's not meant to, you're not supposed to know the whole story. And that's something I do appreciate. Jumping back into the film, we do see that this whole scene was a dream, and he is, getting up and washing himself off, only to find out that the metal is spreading and it's freaking him out. And then we get another sex scene where we get to see the beginning of something that's very iconic in the 80s, and that's a lot of sweat. There's a lot of sweat in this movie, which I also definitely utilize that in a couple scenes in Amity Q. And then we get probably my favorite scene of the movie outside of the title sequence, which is this dinner scene where Taguchi is feeding Fujiwara's character food, and we get these crazy sounds while she's very sexually eating the hot dog and the noodles.
Right. Yeah.
It's definitely very unsettling for anybody who is just trying to figure out what's going on at this point in the movie.
Yeah, definitely. And then from here, of course, the salaryman's transformation continues.
Right. It ends up going further than it previously has, and this is where we get revealed the greatest thing about this movie, and that is the drill penis.
Yes.
His penis becomes a drill, and there is a Sofubi of this, and if I could, I would buy it. No second thoughts. I would have it, and I'd have it proudly displayed in my living room for everybody to come see.
You with your drill penis, Sofubi, Grattan with his...
That Sofubi.
Yeah, that thing.
I really do want to get the drill penis Sofubi. But it's like $200.
Yeah,
it's like 200, if not more.
Look, $200 well spent, if you ask me. After this rather erect moment, Taguchi tries to hide away from Fujiwara's character, but after she begs to see him again and promises that she won't be scared, once she finally does get a good look at his full body and is horrified by his metallic takeover, Taguchi kind of snaps. Sorry, you were going to say something?
I do love the lighting when we get the reveal of like his face is turning fully like metallic. I think that's a very effective scene. I think it ends up looking really, really good. And this is where I've already talked about the lighting, but this scene especially is where it really starts to showcase how amazing the lighting is.
Right. Yeah. It looks amazing. Yeah. And so then he begins to chase her through the house with his drill penis. Then, yeah, kind of to your point about the allusions to sexual like assault and whatnot, like he straight up just grabs her head and brings it down almost so that she can like try and give it a blowjob almost, and then her eventual death is through literal penetration. I know I'm jumping ahead, but just kind of to that point that you were making earlier.
Yeah, I definitely feel that from this, and it's the whole point of like he's chasing her with an erect penis, right?
Yeah,
and I sort of wonder perhaps if you could go as far as to say anybody who's infected with the metal is like that, you know, because if you think about it, Fujiwara's character does it in that dream sequence because she's the one with the metal. He does it and he's infected with the metal. Later on, it is Tsukamoto's character it's still the salaryman who forces Tsukamoto's character to join him, to be inside him. And then you even have the scene where the guy who beats the metal fetishist is the one who lodges the metal in his head, which is him with the metal. I almost wonder if like the metal itself, like whoever is infected by the metal is, you know, a metaphor for something like that. I don't know, of course, but it's definitely following a consistent idea with who is doing these acts of sexual assault and why they are doing it.
Well, like we said earlier, the metal itself is used as a symbol of eroticism throughout the entire runtime. I
mean, the villain's character is a metal fetishist. Like that says it in of itself.
But yeah, through their scuffle, she ends up stabbing Taguchi in the neck, getting on top of him, and almost seeming to defeat him before his drill penis ends up penetrating her.
Mm-hmm. And it's a really disgusting scene because the blood splatter is insane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that shot of the actual blood splatter itself, like, removed from the context is absolutely gorgeous, too. Like, in the way it's shot, just how the blood splatters on the, I want to say it's a shoji door behind her.
I think so.
Yeah. It's an incredible shot.
I also want to highlight real quick the scene before this, whenever he is trying to force her down onto his drill penis. I must highlight, can you take it? Can you taste my sewage pipe?
Yeah.
That is 10 out of 10. I don't know if that's the exact line or if that's just the translation, but that is 10 out of 10 peak writing in cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Taste my sewage pipe. I want that on a bumper sticker. I want that on a shirt. I would tattoo that on myself if I didn't hate tattoos.
Oh, what do you have against tattoos, bro?
They're ink that's there because you've clotted your blood with it. Like, that's not healthy.
The point ain't to be healthy.
Exactly, and I want to be healthy. You're going to die first.
Okay. Is there something wrong with that?
Yeah.
As long as I die happy, it's fine.
Well, I'm happy, healthy.
Well, I'm happier.
Doubtful.
I'm going to take up smoking cigarettes now. Following her death, Taguchi, in just a state of shock and seemingly a bit of mourning too, takes a bath as the metal fetishist finally begins to take a bit more of a center stage in the film.
Right, we get to see a background of like where he came to be, which was a doctor telling him like that piece of metal in your head, like if it comes out, you're gonna die. And then eventually it disappears, and he, I guess, now controls the metal.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that scene, we get to see what Taguchi's character does with the Fujiwara's female character, which he sets her in the bath and then uses his rhubarb tongue to tongue her, which is generally like really disgusting.
Oh, right. That's right.
Which in of itself, I think kind of adds a little bit to the sexual assault thing with just the whole... she is now dead and he's still doing this to her, which is really gross.
Right.
He stops because he gets a phone call, and it's the metal fetishist, in which he then controls his TV screen, which is very J-horror-esque. This is probably the most J-horror the film gets, and he replays what the metal fetishist saw as the car was coming toward him. He just plays that over and over, and even if Taguchi unplugs the TV, it's still there. It keeps playing, and he just gets so angry watching Taguchi and Fujiwara's character take him and then throw him into the woods, where he ends up getting watching them as they have sex on a tree.
Mm.
In which he goes pretty crazy after this. I think at that point his mind is pretty much just shrapnel, if you will. But we do get a great... Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's gone. He's gone, bro.
And then we get a pretty cool sequence where we get to really see what the metal fetishist looks like, and I just adore his look. It looks very theatrical, a little menacing, and just all around really, really cool.
Right. I mean, it's just very punk.
Mm-hmm. We do get to see, as he is coming towards Taguchi's apartment, all the metal near him is just getting warped and moved and everything.
Right. And we also have the best track in the movie playing at this point as well.
It's one of the best, I would agree, yeah. And then as the metal fetishist arrives, things get really messy in the house. Like, everything starts to break and get destroyed. And it's this really cool stop motion sequence. But we also get something I think that's pretty disturbing is this whole time there has been a cat in the apartment who has witnessed everything. And the metal fetishist actually finds the cat and turns it into metal, and we get to see the amalgamation of what that is by the end of this scene. And it's pretty, like, horrific, all things considered.
Right, and isn't there also like a fish from like coming out of it as well?
Yep.
Yeah, I had no memory of that visual at all, so I was like, oh wow, when I saw that.
And during all of this, Fujiwara's character kind of gets brought back. Not really. The metal fetishist just controls her body, in which we get one of the coolest things in the entire movie, and that's once the salaryman is kind of on down and just watching, she starts to degrade into dust and rust.
Yeah, the corroding effect is gorgeous. And then from her corroding body emerges Tsukamoto,
which is really, really cool. And like this whole sequence is just phenomenal. After this, he grabs the TV that he was using and smashes it on Taguchi's head, and he goes into like this TV world, which is like this otherworldly, like Twilight Zone-esque, like miniature set looking thing, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and ends up seemingly completing Taguchi's transformation into a pretty much like fully metallic being, taking away
the skull effect is really cool. Yeah, because then his skull gets warped and taken over by metal, and we get to see like him being rebuilt, and this whole sequence is just like special effects, like heaven.
Yeah, I mean, this whole movie is special effects heaven.
The salaryman after this is like absolutely not in control and kind of has like this weird horse face looking thing, which honestly is probably the best that the suit I think looks. I really like the horse face looking thing. The two go on a chase into an industrial area where the final fight really takes place. During all this, we also get to see the background of the metal fetishist getting beat by a father, just maybe a random person. It's not ever established, but
right.
We know that this is the inciting incident that led to everything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and the scuffle continues for a while, but unlike Meatball Machine, it is actually forever entertaining, like throughout the entire sequence. It is always the energy is always going. But yeah, eventually.
Did you have any? I thought you were going to say something. I was waiting for you to finish your thought because I was going to.
Oh, sorry.
On that.
To be honest, I lost half my train of thought, like when I was speaking.
Okay, well, you were saying that the energy just keeps going, that the fight never gets boring.
Yeah, it just never gets boring. It feels like things are just constantly changing, even if the metal fetishist usually is seemingly on top. With like the cuts of hit to like his background getting abused and whatnot, just the context around the fight changes and whatnot. It's just consistently engaging. Never a dull moment here.
Right. It's important to note that the fight essentially starts at about 45 minutes. And it, like, by the point that they're in this other location, and, you know, we get to see the big final fight with the stop motion and the slow consumption of the metal fetishist into the salaryman's giant metallic body. It has been over 20 minutes.
Right. Yes.
The
Which
fight
usually
continues.
Would be very boring to me.
Yes. But somehow, like, the constant back and forth on who is out on top and the intense stop motion, the great lighting, the great cinematography, the very fast-paced editing. This fight sequence, which is similar in length to Meatball Machine, which explains where Meatball Machine got that from, is considerably better. It feels like there's always a reason to be on the edge of your seat. It's never slowing down. You never know who truly has the upper hand.
Mm-hmm. And as well as that, it's like Tetsuo is a film that has so much less runtime to get you invested in this story. While yes, that runtime does give it the advantage of allowing it to be a very fast movie that is constantly keeping you on your toes. For someone who enjoys more character-driven stories, for me, Tetsuo seemingly shouldn't, like, in theory, shouldn't necessarily work as well as Meatball Machine. There's hardly anything to the cast of this film. Most of it, such as with the metal fetishist, is only really ever implied or like very, very loosely told. There's maybe some subtext as to what's going on with these characters, the implications of like an abusive background and whatnot, but it's never directly stated. The movie doesn't really give you time to think about it, whereas Meatball Machine spends almost its entire first act trying to get you invested in a love story that ultimately just doesn't work in that film.
Mm-hmm. No, I really think that Tetsuo, and I think all the other splatterpunk films do eventually try to replicate it to a certain extent. But I think the fact that Tetsuo is very, like, Tsukamoto knows what he wants to do, and he doesn't stray from that. He doesn't want a love story. He doesn't want a main character. He wants to see the metal fetishist mess with this guy because he hit him and then proceeded to go dump his body. He wants to create something surreal. He wants to create art. And it shows, in contrast to something like Meatball Machine, where it feels more like it's trying to go for an entertainment value, and it ends up just feeling like that, just entertainment, mindless entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Tetsuo surpasses all of its latter bloodline relatives.
Right. Yeah. And then the surrealist styling of a film, I think, ultimately helps lend that uniqueness to the way it is filmed and edited and whatnot, helps in making a much more engaging series of sequences compared to the more standard filmmaking of Meatball Machine.
Right. And I would even go as far as to say that while some people have went out of their way to be like, hey, or not some people, sorry. The thing about it is, so when they were making Tetsuo, the cast and crew thought that it was going to be a parody. They thought like the acting was over the top and it was crazy, but it matches the surrealist approach to the film. And the thing about that is, because it matches, it doesn't feel like a parody. It feels consistent. It feels true to itself. When you go to future splatterpunk films, they're shot more conventionally. They're shot more normal. They're not extreme. They're not surreal. They're not anything like that. They are a generally basic approach to filmmaking, especially from like Tomomatsu and Yamaguchi. I think that's why Nishimura and Kitamura, especially, I think really do better, is because they do match the kooky acting a little bit with a little bit more flair to their style.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this film that takes itself 100% serious. It's not laughing at itself. It's not thinking of itself as anything less than what it is. And that is something truly magical about Tetsuo the Iron Man. Is you go into this movie not knowing what you're going to get yourself into, and you see a movie that knows what it is and embraces what it is and takes it 110% serious. When people say Japanese cinema embraces weird, this film is one of the best examples of that.
Right.
It embraces it, it acknowledges it, and it runs with it. Especially with the end here where they end up getting the two, the hero and the villain, if you will, into a romantic relationship. We get the love music. We get them together, attached. They talk about their love later on. It is a gay-coded film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I do have a question because the thing they become once they are connected is this weird, tank-like being. Do they say kaiju? Do you hear the word kaiju?
I did not hear kaiju in the film, no.
Okay. I could have swore I did.
No. But, I mean, I guess the whole thing is they're technically kaijin, so...
Now,
it is a part of a kaijin series.
That is true. So let me ask you one other question, because when they become this tank thing, they're talking about mutating the whole world into metal. When they start their attack, is that a miniature city?
I was wondering that. It definitely looks like it might be, but also it could just be that they swapped to an 8mm camera for that shot. For that
well, everything
moment.
was shot in 16.
I don't know. That moment looks almost like it's 8mm to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably just wrong, but that's just what I thought watching it. Because it definitely does look like it could be miniatures, but I'm not certain. There's no sources that really talk about that moment that I had access to anyways.
They don't I don't know how they would have access to film at that height.
Exactly.
Which is why I think, because we do see later on what appears to be the tank in a actual city, and it looks like it's it looks like it's almost composite.
No,
obviously
I think
not.
What they did was they used a truck.
Forced perspective.
I think they were driving it around in a truck, was what I heard.
Okay, that would make sense. And they just filmed it at a low angle. But when it's the shots from behind, it's very clear they're doing a forced perspective. The city is a lot bigger than the tank, but they're making the tank look bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But after this, I mean, they basically just ride the world until we get our credits, and then at the very end we do get game over.
Game over.
Which is a fun little thing. God, where do you want to go from here? We've talked about the movie.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, that's Tetsuo, and as we mentioned, would go on to be one of the most influential Japanese films. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna start I think I'm gonna start the final thoughts off here first, just because I feel like with you have a little bit more of an attachment in history for this, that I feel like it'd be wrong for me to end it off. So yeah, in spite of saying that, still, Tetsuo is a film that I've seen several times over the years, and it's one that, while I've enjoyed it every single time that I've watched it, and I've had the joy to be able to introduce some people whom have heard of it but never seen it, I've been able to introduce certain people to the film. Tetsuo is just always a consistently very engaging psychosexual experience, one that is very hard. As much as we've made a decent attempt here, it is a film that is very hard to really put into words. And I think no matter how well, how succinct, how evocatively you are able to put it into words, there is nothing that you can say to describe the film that in any way matches the raw feelings experienced in watching the film. It is truly, it is a movie that you have to experience for yourself. One that just can't, you can't just experience it through someone else. You have to experience it for yourself. And yeah, it's one that every time I watch, there's always something new in the film to appreciate. And it also just stands as an important part of the punk culture in Japan. Even if, unfortunately, as far as I understand anyways, punk culture ironically kind of died down a bit after this film. So maybe in some ways it's almost the beginning of the end, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what can I really say? Honestly,
it's a hard film to talk about when so many people already have.
Exactly. This is one of those things, like, so many people have talked about it. I mean, I'll give you this. I've shown my girlfriend this movie. I've shown my director of photography on my last short film this movie. I showed it to Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Michael was in the room.
Think?
Nathan thought it was interesting. Michael was there and watched most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I will show everybody who possibly, I think I was the one who told you to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
When I first watched this movie, this is my 4th or 5th time watching it. When I first watched this movie, I sat in my room for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, considering what I had just watched.
Yeah.
I think it speaks volumes that 2 of my most recent works were directly influenced by this. One of them is an award-winning. The other one was my first commercial work, independent commercial work.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that that's my go-to, I think that says a lot. Right. The film speaks to me on a creative level that most films don't. I love the music. I love the cinematography. I love the lighting. I love the framing. I love the details. I love the effects. This is one of my top 5 films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We've tackled Legend of 8 Samurai. Another one I said, what can I say? We've talked about Terror of Mechagodzilla, and I said, what can I say? These films, this is now the 3rd film. I think it's the last one on my top 5 list that is applicable for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I love this movie. Top 5 films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Tsukamoto is one of the greatest living filmmakers. To even think about the fact that this film was shot on such a tight budget at the time is insane.
Yeah.
It showcases so much raw talent, raw creativity, stuff that only comes once. Tsukamoto did something that no other filmmaker did, and then after that, everybody wanted to do it. Pinocchio 964, Meatball Machine, Tokyo Gore Police. All of these came in the footsteps of Tetsuo the Iron Man. I think that if you haven't watched Tetsuo, you are missing out on one of cinema's richest films. And I've never been the same. I love this movie. You can't beat it.
Yeah. With that,
are we ready for? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with that being said, was there anything else you wanted to say before you go on your cast and crew spiel?
I think we're ready for the cast and crew spiel. Alrighty,
go right ahead then.
Starting off, we have Tomaru Taguchi as the salaryman, who was also
this
in.
Is gonna be a list.
I know. Who was also in Tetsuo 2, Body Hammer, Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, Andromeda, Konochi, Lady Ninja, Giant Monster Appears in Tokyo, Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, Tomie, Dead or Alive, Oshikiri, Dead or Alive 2, Birds, Gamera the Brave, God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand, Kamen Rider the Next, Gahara the Long Dark-Haired Monster, Tetsuo the Bullet Man, Gantz, Gantz Perfect Dancer, Guinea Pig 2, The Android of Notre Dame, Full Metal Yakuza, Ring Kazaban, Kamen Rider Wizard, Episode 52. Kei Fujiwara, who plays Woman, was in Regular Sized Monster, The Adventures of Denshu Kozo, Hanadama, and then she was in and directed Organ and Id, 2 J-horror films. Nobu Kananoka, who was Woman in Glasses, was in The Phantom of Regular Size, The Adventures of Denshu Kozo, and Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer. Now, Masa Musaka, the Doctor, was in Ultraman Tiga, Ultraman Max, The Princess Blade, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Tokyo SOS, Japan Sinks, Gegege no Kitaro, Kaidan, 20th Century Boys 2, The Last Hope, 20th Century Boys 3, Redemption, Goemon, Zebraman 2, Attack on Zebra City, and Bullet Train Explosion. Renji Ishibashi, who played the homeless man, was in Inferno, Dead or Alive, Audition, Pyrokinesis, One Missed Call, Izo, The Great Yokai War, Shinobi, Heart Under Blade, Kamen Rider the First, Super Kamen Rider Den-O and Decade, Neo Generations, Battleship of Onigashima, Kamen Rider Decade, All Riders vs. Dai Shocker, Kamen Rider X, Kamen Rider Double, and Decade, Movie War 2010, L Changed the World, 20th Century Boys 1, The Beginning of the End, Kikaider Reboot, Higanajima Deluxe, Howling Village, The Great Yokai War Guardians, Ultraman Max, Japan Sinks, A Man of Hope, Sky High, the TV show, Kamen Rider Decade, Samurai Sentai Shinkenger, Lion Maru G, and The Silver Mask. Your crew / cast for this first one: Shinya Tsukamoto, writer, director, special effects director, and actor for Metal Fetishist, was in The Adventures of Denshu Kozo, Hiroku the Goblin, Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer, Tetsuo the Bullet Man. That was things that he was a director of. Cast-wise, he was in The Adventures of Denshu Kozo, Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer, Sakuya, Slayer of Demons, Tetsuo the Bullet Man, Shin Godzilla, and Shin Kamen Rider. And finally, your composer, Chu Ichikawa, was also the composer for Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer, Gemini, Tetsuo the Bullet Man, and Dead or Alive 2 Birds. And that is your cast and crew. And with that, I think there's one last thing we can really say here, Rex.
And what's that?
Hello, I'm Elijah, and I have a kaiju and tokusatsu problem. Joking aside, I am Elijah Thomas. I'm a writer. I've written for GodzillaMovies.com, Kaiju Ramen Magazine, Kaiju United, and my writing has also been featured in the book Giant Bug Cinema, a Monster Kid's Guide from Bear Manor Media, where I wrote about Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. My writing is also... I did that wrong. Can I restart?
Mm-hmm.
I am a writer. I've written for GodzillaMovies.com, Kaiju Ramen Magazine, Kaiju United, and my writing has been also... Let me start again. I'm sorry. I am a writer. I've written for GodzillaMovies.com, Kaiju Ramen Magazine, Kaiju United, and my writing has also been featured in the book Giant Bug Cinema, a Monster Kid's Guide from Bear Manor Media. I also contributed the foreword for the book G Cinema, an exploration and celebration to Japan's Monster King by Daniel DeManna from Fonthill Media. I have been given the privilege to work with my good friends at Giant Monster BS on their second season as a creative consultant, covering independent kaiju films. I'm also a bonus feature producer for SRS Cinema, working on various titles such as Yuzo, The Biggest Battle in Tokyo, Hoshi 35, Outer Man, and the upcoming Brush of the God, along with various other titles. You can order these Blu-rays on srcinema.com or the DVDs from any major online retailer. As I can talk about it now, I was commissioned by Umbrella Entertainment to produce an audio commentary for the cult hit J-horror film Uzumaki, which is available on Region B Blu-rays from boutique label websites. I'm also a filmmaker. You can check out my work on my YouTube channel at ET13 Productions, where you can see my short films and some of my old YouTube videos, along with an ever-growing playlist that features all of my appearances on YouTube. You can also check out my action figure photography on my Instagram at ET13_productions and my X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, thanks Danny, at the same handle. Now, Rex, where can we find you at?
Well, dear listeners, you can find me on YouTube at Rexino, on Twitter at Rex_Xenomorph, and on Instagram, Rex_Xeno.
And as for the podcast, don't forget to rate us on iTunes. That boosts our ratings and helps us get recommended to more people just like you. If you don't have an Apple device, which I don't blame you, that's a lie. I'm using a MacBook to read this podcast. It also crashed on me, so don't buy Apple devices, but you can rate us on Spotify. To stay up to date with all things Kaiju Conversation related, head over to www.kaijuconversation.com to find all of our episodes, social media, news, and updates. Follow us on Twitter at KAIJU_CONVERS. If you don't have Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram or like us on Facebook. If you're like me before podcasting and you don't have any social media, lucky you. You can email us at kaijuconversation@gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word. You know the drill. And as always, we'll read your reviews on air for everyone to hear. We also have a Teespring store. Eventually, we're going to figure that out and have original artwork on there. But until then, you can sport our awesome logo on a t-shirt or maybe even a coffee mug. If you'd like to chat with us, check out our Discord server full of others that have similar interests to you. Recently, there was a discussion about the upcoming Gamera Rebirth Blu-ray that was just announced. It's a great community full of great people. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can be notified anytime we upload a video. We sometimes post exclusives to the channel like bloopers for episodes or minisodes talking about news or other subjects. A huge thanks to Rex for editing all of these episodes and all the other content we upload. His links can be found in the description below. Along with Rex, we'd like to give a huge thanks and shout out to Danny DeManna of the Godzilla Novelization Project for his amazing vocals on our theme song. You can support him by following him on Twitter at Danzilla93_GMP or visit his website, GodzillaNovelizationProject.com. And a huge thanks to Grattan Conwell from the podcast Giant Monster BS for composing the music for our theme song. You can support him by following the podcast on Twitter at Giant Monster BS or on any podcast platform under the name Giant Monster BS. And with that, we're going to wrap things up here. So thank you guys so much for listening to another month of episodes, Meatball Machine, Tetsuo the Iron Man, and a Meatball Machine bonus episode. It's been a lot of fun tackling some splatterpunk. It's a subgenre we have not really dug into as much as we probably should have by now, but we are starting that journey slowly but surely. Rex, it's been amazing as always to talk to you about these movies and share the love of Tokusatsu.
Likewise, hopefully next time we cover one of these movies, I will have not gone to karaoke 2 nights on the weekend prior.
Hopefully the next time we upload, we're not going to be as exhausted either. I think that's a big one.
Real.
So our apologies if we were a little less than energetic this time around. But next time we will do our best to bring a better performance, a better conversation, if this didn't fit your needs. I think we did a pretty good job, all things considered.
I think we're good at faking it till we make it.
I agree. But with that, I think there is one last thing, Rex.
And
that is, as always, please remember, life's too short to not talk big. Bye, guys.
Bye.
We are set, we are in debt. There's nothing to sweat. Life's too short now, baby. Just to not big those kaiju, baby. And you will too now.